Hi everybody. So continuing to work on the right wing leading edge, right wings in general. So here you see me kind of moving the wing cradle over here, uh, starting to work a little bit on retrofitting stiffeners into my left wing by my wing walk to help strengthen that area for when my fat ass trundles up to the plane, eventually loses his balance drunkenly, probably, just kidding, and denting my wing, so we don't want that. So it's too late to put the elongated doublers in. I thought about it. I could put like an entire plate there and then basically ring both areas with, they basically have a big ring of rivets around the side. I didn't know how effective that would be. Plus I'm putting a lot of extra holes into a place next to a place that has a ton of pressure put onto it. I just, it's one of those things of, I'm not an aeronautical engineer. I'm just an engineer who thinks he knows how to engineer. And that's really kind of dangerous. If you're someone that designs things and they always go right, I mean, not always go right, but you always do it in the safest way so that you make sure that nothing bad ever happens and you don't actually see any issues with what you've done. That's dangerous. That's armchair engineering. That's what you get. Look at myself, various members of my family. We're great people. We love to think, but we don't have the actual formal training, and we're just making this shit up as we go. Anyway, so I figured it's too late to put the doubler in place, but I can go ahead and put some stiffeners, and I've put them in. And I tell you what, they do help. So here I'm actually using the J channel from the leading edge to get a good kind of rivet pattern for the stiffeners that I'm putting in. And then, of course, as usual, I go off and disappear. And I don't bother to do things like clip this crap out of the final cut. So yeah, just match drilling. So it's just leftover 9-inch J channel. And what's funny is if I add up all the extra 9-inch J channel that I had, or I should say, all the 9-inch pieces that I used, if I add them all up, then I would have had more than enough J channel to actually do the leading edge of the right wing, which is I didn't, and I had to wind up buying and having a piece shipped from Vans. It's embarrassing, but so here I am mocking up the actual stiffeners. So there's a little bit of a difference. I will say this. So when you're designing this, if you're doing this for your own plane, measure the areas. So what I'm doing is, trying to get an even stress distribution of weight across that whole area. And at the moment, all you really have between the fourth and the fifth rib is the rear spar, the J channel, and the front spar. So what I've done is I'm still putting 2 stiffeners between each one of those things that I've just described. But what I'm doing is doing them equidistantly between the various pre-existing rivets. So the area, so I should say the length between the rear spar rivets and the J channel rivets is about I want to say it's like 11 3/4, or basically it just winds up being 3 segments of 3 3/4 inches. Now the bottom just happens to be 12 inches, so that divided by 3 is very easy. That was 4 inches. So if you did look, so whenever you get to see my plane and you look at the left wing, you'll look at them and say, okay, so the 2 top stiffeners, or I should say the 2 fore stiffeners, are actually going to be a 1/4 inch closer than the ones on the bottom, which I'm fine with, because that way the stress areas, or the stress distribution areas, being those stiffeners, will be equidistant everywhere. So I'm thinking that should be sufficient to at least keep me from cracking or denting the skin the first few dozen times that I accidentally step out there, because it will happen. So yeah, after I've produced the different stiffeners, then I'm just going through and match drilling using the first one as a template. And then of course seeing here with the deburring. And now the drilling begins, and then yeah, so we're drilling here, we're match drilling into the skin, and then after that we will be doing the deburring and the dimpling, which is a whole mess pain in the butt, which we'll talk about in the next video. So I'll see you soon.